Thank you so much, firstly, for joining me in this conversation. I saw Aarya, which you've helmed along with the two other co-directors, and very intriguing, very refreshing, I think, to say the
Thank
least,
you.
at least in the Indian series space, something new, something exciting that people can look forward to. Because
Right.
firstly, it has a woman character who plays the protagonist. It's a thriller, and it's refreshing to see that versus all the males who've been taking center stage in the web series space so far.
Right.
Um, so, Ram, this project took 9 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? How did you finally feel when it finally took off?
You know, um, actually, the moment that I clearly remember is when we were shooting in Rajasthan in the opium fields. And 9 years ago, when I was traveling on a train, is when I first looked out of the window and I'd seen the opium fields, and that's when I understood, how we can make the show and base it and make it culturally rooted. And then that day, which was last year, or like I think January, I think it was, so it's this year, I was standing in that opium fields and saying to myself, wow, this is that field, not the same field, obviously, that I was on the train passing by, but it was a similar field. And I said, wow, I'm now standing here after so many years. At that time, when it first, we thought about it, Amita and myself, when we saw Penoza, and we said, this is a show that has a strong character, and it's a show that we'd like to make. We never expected it would take us that long. Uh, the good thing is that the story stayed with us. Some stories, there have been 4 or 5 scripts that I worked on in between that are no longer in my heart. And this one stayed. It's a bit like, I know it's an adaptation. I know that it's not original. At one point I thought, why am I making an adaptation? And then I said, it doesn't matter. You can adapt from a book. You can adapt from Shakespeare. And as long as you adapt it hopefully well, which I'm hoping that we have, from the reactions that we have got, it seems like we have adapted it well. And I think that original image, which was in the train as the train was passing by, and that image, and then to see myself standing in that image was like serious time travel. Like it was future and past time travel simultaneously.
Okay.
So
So this question you've been asked many times now. I mean, even, right from the time you started giving interviews. Why Sushmita Sen?
but you should not feel bad about asking it, because I think that is a very relevant question, because um, it's what happened was that when we went and asked her, obviously there are many names that come your way, etc. It just so happened that we asked her. I had worked with her many years ago in a commercial in an ad film, and then she we met at a place which had a little conference room and a little area where you could sit. And obviously, when you meet Sushmita Sen, she is the Sushmita Sen, right? So she has an aura, she has an energy. She's a true definition of a star, because I feel that a star changes the energy of a room when they enter. She can change the energy of a room just the way that she's there. Her presence has got so much magnetism that you can actually sense the aura. So I had a conversation with her. I said, this is what the show is. This is what the dream is. This is my process. Thankfully, she had seen Neerja and she had loved Neerja. And I told her, this is how I work. And she immediately actually was so enthusiastic. And first, you have to understand with Sushmita, she is incredibly sincere. She's incredibly diligent. She's incredibly disciplined. She comes on time. So if you ask her for a 4 o'clock meeting, she's there at 2 to 4. And then you have to also understand that she takes notes. Okay. So you may not expect all of this from her, but she's like this. She runs her life to a schedule, extremely organized. And I didn't know most of this at that time when I met her first. But when I did meet her, she said yes. And she was so enthusiastic and she was so childlike in her enthusiasm that I didn't believe it, because I thought, oh, okay, another actress who's saying yes. And then later in a couple of days, the manager or the lawyer will get back and say, she loves you and she really wants to do it, but etc. And but she had said yes. And then I didn't realize that when Sushmita Sen says yes, she's genuine about it because she's a genuine person. And I thought at that time that she was just like, acting. I said, fantastic acting. If she's acting, this is great. And then now as I've been working with her, I realized that not only is she a genuine person, but she was a genuinely good, she is a good actress, but that time she was not acting.
Right.
She meant it. She says, Ram, I have manifested this from the universe. I have manifested this. You are the person I've been looking for 10 years. I've been waiting for this. So it was actually delightful. She was really, every day for her was something which she could, like when she's on a set, very few people I've worked with where when they're on a set, they're aware and, she could be having dinner and the chef may be behind her and the chef wants an autograph and she's aware that the chef wants an autograph. And while she's eating dinner, she'll be saying, so sorry, Satish, no, I'll just be with you in a minute, Satish. And she's taken the chef's name. And I don't know how she even remembers the name, but she's like that. She is genuinely we lucked out. The universe actually blessed us.
Of course, now, the critics, the audience, they love it. I think you've seen all the great reviews you've got, for the show, for the performances. Your casting was actually quite good, I must say, and I think you were very lucky in that aspect as well, getting the right cast in place, other than Sushmita, of course. But unlike the Dutch series, I think this was more... it had a lot more Indianness, obviously, because you had to make it culturally relevant, yes. But this was also a story between the mother and the three kids, right? It just wasn't a straightforward thriller.
Right.
So how did that come about?
Well, first of all, it is there in the show. I think that what happens with us being Indians, I think we do make it emotional. Plus, I'm actually not really interested, like in Neerja, I wasn't interested in a hijack film. I was interested in a mother-daughter relationship story. Here, I was interested in a family and what they go through and the dynamics of that and how do you come over grief, how do you deal with it, what are the problems of, sort of the teenage angst that she would have gone through. So though a lot of it is there, here what we've invested in is the relationships, because I think that when it comes to India, we are not solo people, right? We're all together people. We stay together, we eat together. Whereas over there, the idea of independence, that you are 16, now you can go to college. At 18, you please earn your own living. I don't understand or get that. I don't think we get that. I don't think any of our kids get that. And the idea that, I haven't met my father for 20 years, 30 years, or we meet once a year in Thanksgiving, are all like, sort of notions that I hope we never get used to. I hope that we don't, come out of that. I remember going to China for a shoot some years ago, and the idea of a lazy Susan, which is what, you have in a restaurant, because there are 8 people in that restaurant and you can turn the table. And that idea, I think itself in Chinese restaurants is no longer there, because there are 2 people eating. And when 2 people are eating, you don't need a lazy Susan to, sort of to have 8 and 10 people. I love round tables. I love lazy Susans. I love the idea that we're all over here together, even though, of course, families are fraught and families can be tense. But thank God I have family. Thank God we are not just a nuclear family. Thank God that we all have this extended relationship. And I think Bob and Larry, who are the 2 people in the characters, that's Alex and Richard, who are there in the show, they say, when in India, you don't marry the woman, you marry the family. So no, I'm just interested in relationships and emotions. And I think I'm in the business of feelings. I'm in the business of emotions. They ask me, कि आपका धंधा क्या है? तो मेरा धंधा emotions बेचने का धंधा है.
So that comes from your advertising background, right?
Very much, because in advertising, I think, you're taught what to say, how to say, but most importantly, you're taught how to feel. And a lot of the time, I'm very interested at the end of the show, what is the expression? Or at the end of the ad, I'm constantly, when I'm making the ad, I'm always looking at, I'm presenting into the conference room, what should the expression of the client be? Or sometimes what happens is that they call in secretaries and the accountants and they say, kaisa laga, ad kaisa laga? And then I want to predict that expression. This is what they will feel at the end of it. And therefore, I think really, not only am I in the feelings business, I'm in the mood alteration business, but I'm in the predicting the feelings business. Plus, I think I'm also, in some ways, in the thali business, right? Because what we do is, I give you a thali, right? Now, that's what we like in India. No, we like the fact that thoda thrill hai, thoda emotion hai, thoda drama hai, thoda ye, sort of rona dhona hai, thoda gana hai. So I like that thali idea. And some people, theek hai, mere ko बैंगन अच्छा नहीं लगा, तो ठीक hai, you don't have the बैंगन, man. It's okay. You like the dal, it's okay. So the idea that we are a culture that is relationship oriented, that likes having food which is not sort of a one dish or a plated dish. I think the idea of Indian cuisine having plated dishes is a new idea. We're meant to share, we're meant to be together. And you're meant to have a thali full of do dal hogi, teen, sort of sabzi hogi, all of this. So I think what I want to do in a show or in a movie is to give you a thali experience.
Right. One of the things that Sushmita had spoken about in her interview somewhere that I read is that you were using multiple cameras at the same time to shoot. So it was like, and that was a new experience for her as well. Is that how you normally work? Is that your working process?
So what happens is that because I'm interested in reality, I'm interested in truth. I read a lot of 1970s faction, from whether it was Tom Wolfe and all the people at that time who were journalists who were in some ways getting into fiction but wanted to write fiction in a way in which it felt like it was journalism, and wanted to write journalism in a way it was fiction. So they came up with this term called faction. And in my head for some years I've been trying to formulate a system which I call as the 10 ways to get to truth. But now I'm calling it the 360-degree system. And the 360-degree system is, how do I create a world where when you watch it, the audience does not feel that as if it is, they feel like as if it's actually happening. They feel that this is real. That means the idea of shot taking, the idea of light, the idea of even saying action. I don't say action. I find that the word action creates tension in the molecules of your body. When somebody says action, you say, oh gosh, okay. So I don't do all of that. I do it so that the actors are comfortable. I do it so that the home is a fully furnished home. You can open the fridge, you can do what you want. There are no rehearsals, because in life there is no take two. Obviously I do take twos and threes, but by and large, I don't worry about continuity of action. I don't break it up into bits and pieces. I do it so that there is life before action and after cut, and that energy that you see or that you feel, that means if you're in a memorial hall, you will feel like you've entered a memorial hall. The smell of the place will be like a memorial hall. I have to get all of that into the cells of the actors so that they are not acting, that they are being, they're not showing. I can bore you with this, I can continue, and so forgive me, please, this is just process. It doesn't matter. But right. I'm here trying to create a documentary, but I'm trying to control the documentary, and it's a fictional documentary.
Right. But Neerja, of course, was a commercial film, right? And this is, right. A series on an OTT platform. The processes and the writing is different. The way you shoot is different, because you've got 9 episodes of about 45 to 50 minutes each. So for you, was it like a challenge for you, or how was it as a director?
Well, first, I did have a co-creator, Sandeep Modi. I do have 2 other directors. There's Sandeep, Vinod, and myself, the 3 of us. There's also both Sandeep and Vinod, who are my associate directors in Neerja. Sandeep also makes ads for us in Equinox. Vinod Rawat has been working with me as my acting director in a way for 9 years, 10 years. And all my ads, I have workshops in my advertising also. So there was a shared vision. That vision is something which I had started inventing in Let's Talk itself, my first film, which is how do I make it feel like as if a couple is really married, and like they actually exist. They have how do you do that? That how do you make it feel like they've been married for 15 years, 20 years without, the actors getting biblical about it. So, uh, therefore, when I was working with Sandeep and Vinod, it was a shorthand because they knew what I was saying. I knew what they're saying. We share the same. The vision is something which I had done in Neerja. They were part of the system. They helped me in the system. They made the work better for sure. I take some of the credit because I'm like some dangle, because of Neerja. My name is therefore out there. I'm hoping very soon that they will get more credit than I am. But no, it's simple when you have people that you have grown up with who share the same vision. And I think my job as a co-creator, director, somebody who started the process is to have a vision and pass it on. I have to pass it on to 50 people, 100 people, 588 people were there, on our set. So that's my job. That's what I do. I have to tell that to the costume designer, the production designer, the actors. So, and unfortunately, even though I'm an introvert, I have to talk. So that's really what keeps it going. I think I'm from the communication business, and therefore my job is to communicate.
Okay. So now that you've done a successful series, a super successful film, I mean, what do you find it more enjoyable to do? Are you, do you find films as enjoyable as the series genre? What are you looking at next?
So, a lot of this is based on passion. A lot of it is based on what one wants to tell. A lot of it is based on sort of learning, or because see, the journey is a huge struggle, right? It's a big mountain that you're climbing. So you better be sure that you want to climb the mountain. And actually, you're never sure in any case. So some forces kind of align. And then sometimes you get pushed off the mountain, and sometimes you get frostbite, and sometimes you get minus 40-degree temperature, and so you say, oh, I can't climb the mountain. And so much of it, this is not in my hand, actually. It's really in the universe's hand to sort of make it happen. Would I like to continue making advertising? Yes, I love it. I'm passionate about it. Would I like to continue making movies? Yes, my next movie I want to do is a comedy, so I don't make people cry. I also want to, my next film, incidentally, is a male-centric film, so then the people don't say, oh, but you only make women-centric stuff. I didn't do that by design. And I also believe that one of the good things about being on the OTT platforms is that it keeps me away from the Friday mafia, right? Even though, thank God, Aarya is successful, and thank God people have loved it, and therefore I hope we get season 2. But it at least, I'm not, I'm not a failure one day on one Friday and not a success. So it keeps me away from the Friday mafia, and it allows me to practice and keep my production house going while obviously the passion continues. So I'd like to continue doing all three, just like writers are journalists and short story writers, and also want to write books. And so this is all part of that, right? So I want to do all of it, but I want to do it when I do have control. I want to do it when I can put my name on it. I want to do it so that I can do it my way. So
okay. So now that season 1 has been a fantastic success, is there talk of season 2? What next on that front as far as Aarya goes?
Well, I think on season 2 there are 5 seasons, thankfully. So I think you're going to have to ask Disney Plus Hotstar whether they'll allow a season 2. I'm hoping that they will. It has been a success. There is no reason why they shouldn't. So let's wait for that news. But it will take some time. We have to write the script, so it will take some time. This itself, we have post-produced during lockdown. We were meant to have come out during IPL. May 15th was meant to be our launch. We released on June 19th. The team has worked really hard. 20-30% of the dubs are all done on phones, and I don't think people can notice that everything from the VFX to the color correction to everything has been done in lockdown. I'm hoping that what is facing us and humanity and the world right now is we're creative people, we're hopeful people. I'm hoping that it will, sort of get over what we are all going through. I'm hoping it will pass soon, so that we can then get back to work, all of us, and get back to producing stuff that can, in some ways, what an Argentinian writer once said, which is, Jorge Luis Borges, who said, why does he write? And he said, for my friends, for my family, and to ease the passage of time.
Okay. Thanks so much, Ram, for this engaging conversation, and wishing you the very best. And congratulations once again to you and your team on the success of Aarya.
I know it's been, thank God people loved it. My gosh. So, okay, spread the word. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.